Types of income taxpayers. There are two types of income taxpayers, and they are individuals and corporations. Individuals are further classified into three. We have citizen, alien, and taxable estates and trusts. The two classifications of citizens are resident citizens and non-resident citizens. There are also two classifications of aliens. They are resident aliens and non-resident aliens. Under the non-resident alien, we have non-resident alien engaged in trade or business, and non-resident alien not engaged in trade or business. Corporations are further classified into two. We have domestic corporation and foreign corporation. Under the foreign corporation, we have resident foreign corporation and non-resident foreign corporation. I will first discuss the individual income taxpayers. In order for you to understand this easily, I will provide examples and we will indicate the appropriate classification for each of the examples. So, ika-classify natin siya kung resident citizen, non-resident citizen, resident alien, non-resident alien engaged in trade or business, or kung non-resident alien not engaged in trade or business. First example is an unemployed Filipino residing in the Philippines. Ano nga ba ang kanyang appropriate classification? An unemployed Filipino residing in the Philippines is a resident citizen. Bakit siya resident citizen? Pag sinabi kasi nating resident citizen, it is a Filipino citizen residing in the Philippines. Meaning to say, Pinoy na nakatira sa Pilipinas. So kahit unemployed siya, if he is a Filipino and he is also residing here in the Philippines, then he will be classified as a resident citizen. The next example is a Filipino who is privately employed in the Philippines. The difference between the first example and the second example is that the second example is privately employed. Pero take note that he is still a Filipino and he is still residing in the Philippines. That's why the appropriate classification for this is still a resident citizen. So whether unemployed siya or employed, basta Pinoy at tumitira dito sa Philippines, then he will still be classified as a resident citizen. Next example is a hardworking overseas Filipino worker. What is the appropriate classification for an overseas Filipino worker or an OFW? An OFW is classified as a non-resident citizen. Bakit nga ba siya tinawag na non-resident citizen? Kasi pag sinabi nating non-resident citizen, it refers to a Filipino citizen not residing in the Philippines. Yung OFW kasi leaves the Philippines during the taxable year to reside abroad for unemployment. He derives his income abroad, he works there, and his employment thereat requires him to be physically present abroad most of the time during the taxable year. So meaning to say, pag yung Pinoy pumunta sa abroad as an immigrant or for an employment purpose, then he will be classified as a non-resident citizen. Take note that if the individual is a Filipino, dalawa lang ang pwede mong magiging classification dyan. either resident citizen or non-resident citizen, pero hindi mo pwedeng i-classify yan as alien. Resident alien or non-resident alien. Basta pag Filipino, dalawa lang ang pwede mong maging classification, either resident citizen or non-resident citizen. Next example is an Indian who married a beautiful Filipina and has been residing in the Philippines for 2 years. What is the appropriate classification for this? This is classified as a resident alien. Bakit nga ba siya resident alien? Kasi pag sinabi nating resident alien, it refers to an individual who is residing in the Philippines but is not a citizen thereof. Sabi naman niya, Indian. So, hindi siya Filipino. That means alien siya. Ngayon, naninirahan siya sa Philippines, kaya resident alien. Now, another criterion para masabi natin na yung alien is a resident alien is that yung alien ay dapat nandito sa Philippines for more than 1 year as of the end of the taxable year. So dito sa ating example, sabi niya, yung Indian ay pinakasalan niya yung beautiful Filipina at nandito na siya sa Philippines, dito na siya tumitira for 2 years. So para masabi kasi natin na yung alien is resident alien, dapat nandito siya for more than 1 year. Sabi niya 2 years. More than 1 year na yon. Kaya ang ating classification for this is resident alien. Before I proceed to the next example, I will first explain non-resident alien. Non-resident alien is an individual who is not residing in the Philippines and who is not a citizen thereof. Meaning to say, hindi siya Pinoy and he is residing here in the Philippines. Meron tayong dalawang klase ng non-resident alien. First, non-resident alien engaged in business. Second, non-resident alien not engaged in business. Non-resident alien engaged in business refers to an alien who stayed in the Philippines for an aggregate period of more than 180 days during the year. Ang ibig sabihin niyan, nandito yung alien ng mahigit 180 days sa Pilipinas. Aggregate period means tuloy-tuloy. Non-resident alien not engaged in business includes alien who comes to the Philippines for a definite purpose, which in its nature may be promptly accomplished, and an alien who shall come to the Philippines and stay therein for an aggregate period of not more than 180 days during the year. So, kung sa non-resident alien engaged in business ay more than 180 days, ito namang non-resident alien not engaged in business is not more than 180 days. But take note na sa non-resident alien engaged in business, dapat more than 180 days pero not more than 1 year. Kasi pag more than 1 year na siya, of course, hindi na siya magiging non-resident alien engaged in business, but rather resident alien. Next example is a Mexican businessman who has his domicile in the Philippines for 7 months. The Mexican businessman is not classified as a resident alien since he is in the Philippines for less than 1 year. The Mexican businessman will be classified as a non-resident alien engaged in business since 7 months ay more than 180 days. So, ang magiging classification ni Mexican businessman ay non-resident alien engaged in business. Next example is a Afat Mexican tourist The fat Mexican tourist will not be classified as non-resident alien engaged in business because if you are just a tourist here in the Philippines, you will not stay for more than 180 days. So that means the appropriate classification for the fat Mexican tourist is a non-resident alien not engaged in business. At saka yung purpose ni fat Mexican tourist sa Philippines is to tour only. That means madali lang na ma-accomplish yung tour.